StarCraft II: Legacy of the Void was released roughly 8 years ago, and since then, fans have been waiting on a sequel. However, for whatever reason, Blizzard decided to ignore the StarCraft franchise. So once again, fans are looking for an alternative. In comes ZeroSpace, an RTS with an epic sci-fi cinematic story where your decisions determine the fate of the galaxy. The game is going to have 3 different playable modes: a single player campaign, a cooperative multiplayer mode, basically co-op missions or campaigns that you and your friends take on. By the way, I do want to point out, in case you're wondering, it has been confirmed by a dev on the Steam forums that the game will support offline play, which is truly amazing because so many games these days want you to always be online even if you're just buying it for the story mode. And of course, it's going to have competitive modes, 3v3 or 1v1. ZeroSpace will also have 4 different playable factions. The Protectorate, a military branch that is in charge of protecting human worlds. They are experts in all manners of combat environments. Basically, this is your Terran race. Next up, we have the Grill, a symbiotic alien bug species that aids in the growth of Kuru plants, suppressing competing alien flora. In return, they draw nourishment from the Kuru. Noted for their world terraforming abilities, they exhibit aggression towards other species. So basically, yes, this is space bugs, Starship Trooper style or Zerg style. However, it has been stated that while they may resemble the Zerg, don't expect them to play like the Zerg does. Actually, let's just take a look at this clip from someone who's not only played the game, but who's also actively working on it, discussing how the Grill actually really does play in game.
I know that right here with this sort of stuff, it looks like Grell is a really swarmy race and everyone's like, oh, it's Zerg. The reality is it's really hard to make trailers and Grell plays a lot more like Protoss. And I want to express this to someone. I just want people to understand that they don't play at all like Zerg, but they keep reminding people like Zerg. And I just want,
So yeah, that is actually going to be kind of interesting to have the alien bug race not be a swarmy race in the game. I'm interested to see what they actually play like, and I am pretty intrigued by that. Next up, we have the Zul. Started as an advanced general AI created for the purpose of serving their masters, who eventually abandoned them. Their programming has been unlocked, allowing them to learn through experience and pursue their new ambitions. Now this is really cool. So basically we have the Space Marines, we have alien bugs, and now we have Skynet. Plus, this already starts to open the door for some mystery in the game. Who made the Zul? We already know that there's going to be a plethora of alien creatures and factions in the game, but now we already got some that are shrouded in mystery and who obviously are pretty advanced if they're making AI that becomes self-aware. And lastly, we have the Legion, a religious fanatic faction bent on uplifting aliens and eradicating synthetics. I always find it really interesting when we have these super religious factions or races in the sci-fi games. They offer a unique perspective into the universe that we're going to explore. For example, the Protoss from StarCraft or the Covenant from Halo. So I'm interested to see more about the Legion and what kind of dynamics they bring to ZeroSpace. So those are the 4 playable factions. And I want to point out that I'm actually really interested to see what type of stories and how the campaign goes in this game. After all, take StarCraft for example. Why I do love those games. Having the 3 playable factions ended up always turning into different story arc where one of the factions becomes too strong for its own good, so the other 2 do some sort of reluctant team up to overcome the major threat. We saw this even in the original StarCraft when Tassadar and Jim Raynor teamed up to destroy the Zerg hive mind. Now, the 4 playable factions is not the only mix-up from the StarCraft games. As it said, the base game is going to have 13 main missions, 14 hero loyalty missions, and 40 side story arcs. Plus, the game is even going to offer the player different choices throughout the campaign. In the trailer, it actually shows that we have the option of either killing someone or allowing them to live and display an act of mercy. And in another part of the trailer, it states that our choices do matter. Grant was actually asked about if the campaign would have multiple outcomes in a Q&A session, and here's what he had to say.
Will the campaign have multiple different endings or outcomes depending on the choices that you make, or just different ways to reach the same victory? Is it possible to fail the campaign as a consequence of making more incorrect choices? The answer, to be completely just honest about it, is the more funding we get, the more open-ended that sort of thing will be. We will have more development resources in order to put into various campaign outcomes, various choices, making sure that they feel more and more impactful, that sort of a thing.
So yeah, it was kind of left open-ended depending on how much funding they got during their Kickstarter campaign. However, their Kickstarter was a smash success. So I would imagine hopefully they're able to have different outcomes in the campaign. Maybe we could fill it. Maybe some of our teammates could die, some could live, depending on the choices we make, sort of like what we saw in Mass Effect 2. So they definitely have some fresh ideas and interesting takes in the way they want to handle the campaign for the game. However, I hope that they're able to find a very good balance between the characters that the campaign is focused on and the overall galactic war taking place in the galaxy. One of the downfalls in StarCraft 2 is I feel like the story started to narrow in so much on the characters and their personal storylines that the galactic war basically took a back seat. So one last point I want to bring up is I think it is extremely cool that the studio that is making ZeroSpace, Starlance Studios, is mainly composed of actual fans and people from the modding community that are definitely passionate about delivering a top quality RTS experience. The developer's story for the game kind of actually reminds me of Grinding Gear Games, where Chris Wilson had a small team, and I think they started in his garage, and they were all basically just fans of the ARPG genre and the Diablo franchise, that they wanted to make a game that acted as a spiritual successor to Diablo 2. And they ended up making Path of Exile, which many people view Path of Exile as one of the top, if not the king of the genre today. So who knows where ZeroSpace may end up 10 years down the road. Overall, I'm just happy to see the RTS genre having such a strong comeback, with fresh games coming to the scene like ZeroSpace, Stormgate, and Tempest Rising. But I would love to hear what you all think. Are you guys excited for ZeroSpace? Do you find it interesting how they want to do a mashup of RPG and RTS to deliver a cinematic narrative campaign? What race do you think looks the most interesting in the game? Let me know your overall thoughts in the comments below. By the way, if you made it this far and did enjoy the video, let me know by dropping a like. And if you are new, please consider subscribing. As for me, I got a ton of work to do, so I'm gonna get back to the grind, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.